The following program is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Perspective. And today I want to discuss what's going on around the league and the NBA. I want to talk about the WNBA and what's going to come. I know right now it's just around the corner for the WNBA season. It starts May the 11th, and then the season doesn't end till September 11th. So it's going to be a lot of exciting things going on and things to talk about. I also want to talk about some of the things that I feel like, even though I know the NFL is over with right now, and I told you my draft, who was predicted to go to what team. And not only that, I told you what I feel like was going to happen as far as the grades. I know a lot of people didn't agree with some of the grades I gave. What I did was I went on the teams and their needs. And if you didn't fulfill a need that I felt like that was really specific that you needed to discuss or take care of, and you didn't during the draft, even though it still could be addressed, definitely when I tell you some of the people that I feel like in the NFL right now who will be on the trade block before the season begins. So I want to start off and I want to give you those notes and let you know what I'm going to discuss today. And I want to start off by breaking down what happened right now in the NBA. I want to start off on what happened on Sunday. Sunday, it started off with most of the semifinal games, and it went on from there. That was the first semifinal game that came on Sunday. It was actually pretty shocking to me because when I saw the game, I said, yeah, this game is really exciting. They're going blow for blow. It was a number one against a number four ranked team, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers. I didn't expect Indiana to come out swinging like that. A lot of the first round was dull, or it was a lot of blowouts or gentlemen sweeps. But in this case, they were going haymaker for haymaker. And for the most part of the game, the Indiana Pacers controlled the game. It got close at the end and it went down to the wire. But when it came down to it, the Indiana Pacers held their own. And the crazy part about it was they went to Cleveland and they handled their business and they stole the game on the road. That's not the only thing that happened. This was what's making this NBA semifinal so interesting right now because a lot of the home teams lost right now in the semifinal. So it's been very important for me to discuss that and say the teams that I thought that will, not win that first game, definitely because they were road games, they all came out on top. So I was definitely excited about that. I want to start off with the final score of that game. It was 121 to 112, and that was the score. Indiana went in and they handled business. What more can I say? The leading scorer of the game actually surprised me, Andrew Nimhart. He had 23 points in the contest. Miles Turner handled business on the boards, and I figured he'd handle business when it comes to rebounds. He had 11 rebounds, and Tyrese Halliburton, man, he definitely stepped his game up in that game. I know a lot of players in the NBA. Shame on you guys. I've been hearing that you ranked him as one of the most overrated players, but when it come to work and when it come to him playing in big games, he definitely stepped up in this one. I don't know how the whole series is going to go. I'm just telling you from what I've seen in that game that he really stepped up for that team. And like I said, I was really surprised with the Andrew Nimhart and his attributes with the 23 points, but it was a whole team effort. Like I said, Miles Turner had 11 rebounds, and then Tyrese Halliburton had 13 assists. Donovan Mitchell had 33 points in that game, too, and Evan Mobley had 10 rebounds. So it looked like the Cleveland at first was just to the point where they were well rested. And on top of that, they had to get some of that rust off. I don't believe that's going to happen in game two, but that was a huge victory for Indiana to pull that game off. And to catch you up on Sunday, too, if you wasn't aware, the Golden State Warriors punched their ticket to the semifinals and they went to Houston on the road and kind of embarrassed those guys. I still feel like when it comes down to it. Jalen Green is not really doing what I expected him to do in this series, surprisingly enough. And the Thompson twin has really been handling his business. I feel like I've been hearing a lot of rumors and things going on saying that it's a possibility from the Thompson twin emergence in the Houston Rockets offense and the way he's been playing and the way he's basically held himself down in the actual games and the playoffs and the regular season, and et cetera, that Jalen Green can be somebody who can be a trade chip now, to draft or either get, other players in Houston. I definitely been hearing one of the rumors that people were saying to get Houston over the top with Ime Udoka is a player like Kevin Durant. That's just all rumors and speculations right now, but I definitely been hearing Jalen Green being part of that trade piece because of how good the Thompson twins been playing. But that final score was kind of embarrassing too, because Houston's been real physical and it's been a really good series. They stole the game in Golden State, which I thought that series was going to be over when it went back to San Francisco. But the Houston Rockets had, different plans. That final score was 103-89. Buddy Hield was the one who was the unsung hero who surprised the heck out of me in this game. Everybody was clicking in this game, but Buddy Hield with the 33 points was something that I definitely didn't expect. Steph Curry had 10 rebounds and 7 assists on top of that, which I was surprised because, like I said, Amon Thompson has been really exceptional in this series. He had 24 points, and Alperen Sengun had 14 rebounds. What surprised me because I thought at this point Jalen Green would step his game up, and he didn't do that. He said he played like crap. He didn't really say crap, but he definitely said that's the way he played, and he needed to play better. But I still feel like they need a star over there to help them, go to the next level. I want to move on, and I want to talk about the Monday night slate games. The crazy thing to me with this whole series with Boston and New York, I was thinking if Boston played their ball, that they can win this in five. Like I said, the series is still early, but the New York Knicks ended up going to Boston and taking game one. Reason being, in my opinion, is I know my co-host says that he can't stand when we watch the Celtics basketball. Ebook. He definitely said he hate watching their basketball. I do as well. I got a text from my homeboy yesterday too, Quentin, and he told me, and thank you for these stats, Q, because without you, man, I wouldn't known unless I checked earlier today. Didn't have to do all that when you put me on game and you alert me of what was happening. You missed 45 threes. That's just a damn shame, man. Why would you take 45 threes? That was NBA history right there, shooting all those crazy ass threes. And I just felt like it wasn't even necessary. If they would have settled and got more 2-point baskets, I believe the Celtics could have won this game. That's flat out ridiculous. They think that they're the Golden State Warriors after playing them that time when they got beat down in that series. They shoot way too many threes. I mean, they got guys who can shoot the three, but one of the things we always go by when it comes to the NBA or just professional sports in general, you live by the three, you die by the three. And they died by that three yesterday. I mean, damn, you guys lost a 20-point lead after missing 45 threes. That's a damn shame. In the third quarter, you had a 20-point lead and you just let it go to waste. I'm starting to look at that again, starting to make me worried about the Boston Celtics. I still feel like they're a great road team, so I'm not really as worried. But the way they conduct themselves with shooting too many damn threes and not really playing Boston Celtics basketball. And the one thing that really pissed me off too is the same thing me and the co-host always talked about before in the past. What the hell is going on with Joe Mazzulla? Why are you not making those game time decisions and the game time adjustments? Can't blame it all on him because he can't go out there and suit and play. But the execution and all, when you noticed them threes wasn't going down, man, you should have said, hey, you guys, I need you to settle, get more of an up tempo, and try to make more underneath baskets stuff and shooting more threes, which you have been. Because clearly they wasn't going in when you missed 45 damn threes. Just don't really still care about Joe Mazzulla. I mean, when they won, I had to give them credit, but still, I feel like if Ime Udoka was the coach They would have had to maybe even going on their third championship. That's just my opinion. But let me get to the game. I like to give credit where credit is due. And I feel like Jalen Brunson, even after having all those games played against my Detroit Pistons, was definitely glad that, they did get 2 games. It still could have went to 7 games in that series, but I'll talk about that on another day. Jalen Brunson had 29 points in the contest. And Carl Anthony Towns had 13 rebounds, and I feel like they played really well. Definitely after having all those games played and having to go to Boston, that was like really crazy environment to be in. Boston shot themselves out of that game, and you got to give credit for the Knicks to step up and then get that win after having a tough series against Detroit. And at the same time, I feel like Boston was well rested, but they got to get off and shooting them threes, and Joe Mazzulla have to do a better job at making those halftime adjustments and just adjustments, period, because that team just looked like they're defeated. If this series go like that first game, man, then Boston is going to be gone pretty soon. Everybody thought that it was going to be a sweep. I still said Boston in 5. It still can happen that way, but Boston has to play much better. You know it, I know it, and they definitely got to take care of business game 2. But like I said, credit where credit is due. The New York Knicks came out there and they was tough. Jalen Brunson hit some tough shots. Mikal Bridges, when Mikal Bridges came in, he played clutch in overtime. And that final score was 108 to 105. Give credit where credit is due. New York stole the first game on Boston's home court. And here we are right now. We go into the third game of the semifinals. This one was kind of crazy too. This one went to the wire. I love when the games go to the wire and just really good contested games. It kind of remind me of the good old days, with the physicality and the way they've been playing. I like the fact that the refs are letting them play for the most part. This was a really good matchup with Denver Nuggets and the OKC Thunder, and it's another one that I said shocked me too as well, because when I looked at this game, I thought after Denver had all those games they had to play, going to a game 7, against the Clippers, and then stepping up and going to OKC, they handled business. I think every team who had to play more games than what, we expected them to play or had to play it because of the competition was tough. They had the momentum because they came in and they wasn't really to the point where they were rested. They were still, in rhythm and they were in stride, and they came out and they played that way. I feel like, with the exception of Boston, everybody played really well when they stepped up, and everybody who was on the road, because even though they got all the rest that they can get, but man, damn, I mean, you lose a 20-point lead. I want to get off of that, and I want to talk about the crazy historic performance with the 2 MVP candidates right now. Damn, if this game have to say, or this basically tell or give you a slight lead in the MVP race, I'm gonna have to give it to Nikola Jokic, because that was a sick ass game he had. This dude had 42 points to go along with 22 rebounds, and he had 6 assists to go with it. But I mean, 42 and 22 guys, that's straight up ridiculous. Let's be honest. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander held his own too. He had 33 points and 10 rebounds and 8 assists. So he almost had a triple double, but I just still feel like 42 and 22 is sick numbers. And it was cool too, because Aaron Gordon kind of struggled that last series in the city. He was the unsung hero in the game, shooting a buzzer beater. And when he called game on that shot, the final score was 124 to 119. And that's like kind of historic right now. I know I always talk about stats, but to have all the teams, the Road Warrior teams, go out and win game 1, that was huge. I want to talk about too on the Tuesday slated games. That's game 2 with the Pacers in Cleveland. I think that Cleveland's going to even that series. They got that rest, but now they're determined because that game woke them up. They got punched in the mouth that game. It wasn't even really close at first, and then when it did get close, the Indiana Pacers found their way to catch stride and to beat Cleveland and kind of embarrass them on their own basketball court. Okay, this is the game right now that's going to be game 1. And this is the Golden State Warriors against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm looking at this game right now, and then I'm looking and thinking, the problem is the Lakers got beat up because there's a lot of bigs that's over there with Minnesota. You got Nas Reed, you got Anthony Edwards, who got some size on him as a shooting guard. You got some big dudes over there on that team. And that's the problem, what I think, too. And Rudy Gobert is an X factor. I think they're going to have to put Kevon Looney on him and let him play some games. I don't know right now what they're going to do with Jonathan Kaminga. It just seems like his confidence is shot. He doesn't play, and he's not the same player. I believe once you start to see Coach Steve Kerr give up and didn't have faith in this young man, since last season, he hasn't been the same, and it only gets worse right now because he's not playing up to that, caliber that we all know that Jonathan Kaminga can play. I wouldn't be surprised if next season that he'd be on the trade block or go to another team. But I don't think that he's really worth playing right now. You could give him shots or give him opportunities here and there, but I don't know if his confidence is right there right now. But then, just the performance that Rudy Gobert had, if they don't have a Kevon Looney or some type of big that can guard him, that it's going to be problems. And that could be an X factor. And surprising enough, me talking about Rudy Gobert being an X factor in any damn thing. But at this point, they have a bigger team. And I want to see what they do and how they go about playing the Golden State Warriors. Of course, they got to go to Minnesota, so it's going to be tough as it is. But I'm looking at everything right now. I feel like if Steph Curry can be Steph Curry, Draymond Green can be the type of defense that we know he can play. Because you can never, underestimate the heart of a champion. And those guys got the championship caliber and the pedigree over there in Golden State. But it's all about the X factor to me is Jimmy Buckets. If he can be the same Jimmy that we know he can be before he got injured in that last series, I believe that Golden State can make this pretty interesting. A lot of people are counting them out and think that they're going to get beaten five, but I think that they can make this a little closer than that. I'm still interested and I'm excited to see what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, I have to respect what the Minnesota Timberwolves got to offer. I think they got the slight advantage. I want to go on now and I want to talk about some of the things in the WNBA and what's been materializing. Yes, of course, it's the preseason, but it was pretty cool to see some of the women over in different teams and seeing how these teams are going to, actually mesh in the chemistry with these young ladies. I want to start off with the Dallas Wings. It was pretty cool to see Paige Beckers after winning the college championship go on to, the professional level and play with the Dallas Wings. It looks like when I've been seeing like little pictures of them and, the whole team together is they've been meshing and they've been having a good time. And I definitely like to see that because this is going to be a gruesome season for them. They were one of the worst teams last season, and I don't think they'll be the worst this year. I'm still thinking that Valkyrie might get that rep. JJ Quinterly had 16 points in the game, and my homegirl, DJ Carrington, had 5 rebounds. But it was like it was no match for a team who still had that championship pedigree in the Las Vegas Aces. They came off back to backs. They couldn't make it a three-peat because New York has something to say about that. But I still like what they're cooking over there in Las Vegas. Jackie Young had a really stellar preseason game. She had 28 points and 9 assists. I definitely feel like if she can continue to play that way, and then, we got a lot of the players that'll be back healthy. Yeah, they lost Kelsey Plum, but then when you get the point guard back and she's playing Chelsea Gray, it's going to be really interesting. I want to see how Asia Wilson feel after them getting put out early in the playoffs. And the addition of Jewel Lloyd, I'm really excited because I'm a huge Las Vegas fan of the Aces. I want to see what's going to happen over there. But that score wasn't even nowhere near. I don't know. Maybe it would be that way in the regular season because I feel like the Aces are feeling some kind of way. But the 112 to 78 was totally disrespectful. And then I seen the Zeal versus, the Chicago team, the Chicago Sky. The game was kind of crazy. I think that this is any indication of what's going to go on with Chicago. They're trying to get to the point where they'll be finally making it in the playoffs. They were so close before, but it just didn't happen. Angel Reese has been a beast right now. I've been watching the rival league, the unrivaled league, and she's been having like just averaging double doubles, and she's been better at shooting perimeter shots and long distance 3 pointers as well. That didn't change in this game when they played Brazil. She had 15 points and 10 rebounds. That final score was 89-62, and it wasn't even close. I want to talk about the game on Saturday too. I like what's going on with the Indiana Fever. They got a better team. A lot of people want to go over there and play, with Kaylin Clark and my homegirl, Alea Edwards. So I'm just really happy to see what goes on with this team. I definitely believe they'll make a deeper run in the playoff this season due to if they don't have any injuries. I looked at this game and I seen the Mystics. Brittany Sykes had a pretty solid game. She had 18 points. But I was surprised that Sophie Cunningham cut up like she did. No pun intended. She had 21 points and 8 rebounds. Definitely wasn't expecting that from her. And that final score was 79-74, and the Indiana Fever pulled that game off. The Sunday slate was another blowout with Brazil. Brazil played an Indiana Fever team, and I thought it wasn't even fair to even play Brazil after this game. Kelsey Mitchell was the unsung hero. She had 17 points, and I believe this game got to the point where they probably just had second stringers in this game. I don't believe they have a lot of people on their bench, but it was a lot of rotation in this game, especially with the score being 108-44. We're going to go on to the Tuesday lineups. The Mercury and the Aces. This is the first game the Mercury is going to play. I definitely believe with the Aces, they might pull it off by a slight victory. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I have the Sky over the Lynx as well, but at the same time, the last game that comes on at 10. Actually, it's two games at 10. The Mercury and the Aces and the Sparks and the Valkyrie. I definitely got the Sparks over the Valkyries too in a blowout victory. I just feel sad because a lot of people are already getting injured in the WNBA season. It didn't even start yet. And I wanted to kind of briefly talk about that. Georgia Muir, the number 6 overall pick, for the Washington Mystics. I was looking forward to seeing her play. She just seems like, from just being who she is and the way she act and carry herself. I thought she was a charismatic player and wanted to see her play. But in preseason, she tore her ACL and she out the regular season on the 2025 season, of course. Jordan Horston and Mika Mule as well. They both got hurt, playing with their teams overseas. Just really, it's part of the game, so I expect that to happen. But the crazy part is I hate to see injuries and, the young ladies already being hurt this time of season. Like I said, May 11th will be the start of the season all the way to September the 11th. So I'm looking forward to that. And just like to talk women's sports whenever I could, whether it's college or in the professionals, because I feel like they don't get the credit where the credit is due. But it's been really excited, and I'm excited to be a fan. I want to go ahead too. I want to talk about some of the things that's going on right now. And the reason why, when I said I still have some things to talk about in the NFL, I do. And I think that it's trades that need to be made too. And unfortunately, one of the trades, a lot of people might not agree with me because it's one of my, Detroit Lions players. I know you guys already know who it is, but I'll get to it eventually. But I want to start off with the Jalen Ramsey situation that's going on right now with the Dolphins. I don't think that he's going to stay over there because he already had a big contract, but it was crazy to me to see that they signed him to that contract when, as soon as he left his team without even, having a prove it type style contract or just picking up some money, giving him the contract he had and figuring out what's going to happen the next season. And they openly broadcast too that Jalen Ramsey was going to be trade bait during the draft. They signed him to that crazy extension, like I said. But what I believe is going to happen is The Dolphins gonna probably have to eat some of that contract in order for him to be traded. He might just stay put, but I definitely feel like he's one of the guys who can possibly leave. I know it was four teams that asked about him. One of them was our, Detroit Lions. I believe the Vikings asked about him. A lot of playoff caliber and playoff contender teams was talking to the Miami Dolphins to see what they can do. So it might still be a trade in the works, depending on what happened. Green Bay and Jair Alexander. This is more of one that I was interested in because Jair Alexander seemed like he started to be a headache over there right now with Green Bay. I know at one point he went in the game and it was some crazy things that he did. I think that they were saying that he didn't supposed to be in on that play, and he decided to take it amongst himself that he was coming in and he was playing in the game, and that's what happened, and he got suspended. Jair Alexander, after only playing 14 games in the last two seasons, basically make 17.5 million this year and non-guaranteed. So it might be easier for them to, get him off of this contract. But they can release him too as well at this point. And I believe they can keep a healthy chunk of, contract or cap space for, letting him go and letting him walk. So he definitely might be good for a championship competitive team. I think the Jair can make any cornerback room better for Minnesota to, the Lions, or I really want to see what the Dolphins do at this point because they can get them over there. But the one thing though, I believe that people got to understand is that if he go to your team, it's a possibility he might play out that last year. But if he go to a team, I don't think it's going to be on the veteran minimum because if they're saying it's 17.5 million and they can release him and get a chunk of cap space, what do you expect? He's not going to play on no, I want to, just be on a 1 year, $8 million contract. I believe he's going to want an extension. So would that cause any drama with any teams or how would that materialize? Would the, Green Bay Packers keep him? It's a possibilities, but they had video like Zoom meetings and he was there on every meeting. But now that they're starting training camp, I heard he wasn't around. So that's going to cause some issues as well. I want to go on to the Baltimore Ravens and I want to talk about another person who I've been hearing about rumors for a while now, and that's Mark Andrews. Despite, the questionable way that, the GM Eric DeCosta was saying in his language before the draft, because it definitely looked like he was up for trade. And then it seemed like things kind of quiet down. But I believe he possibly might stay because they already signed him to like $4 million roster bonus, and he has $7 million base salary in his final year. But I still believe that him and Coach Harbaugh get along real good, and that might help his job. And then I know too, with Lamar Jackson, them two being in the same draft, that might have some type of bond with those two. But I don't know if they're going to keep him around because by them signing Lamar Jackson to that heavy deal, I don't know if it's enough money to float around to keep Mark Andrews. I definitely feel like he's going to want to get paid the way he's been playing because he's been playing definitely like one of the top three. Because you look at it, you could say Travis Kelce, and then you can go with George Kittle and Mark Andrews. They've been the top three tight ends for a while now. So I know that Mark Andrews is going to want to get paid. Unfortunately, like I said, they might not have the money to float around. So I'm not surprised that they're saying that he can possibly be up for trades. Philadelphia Eagles, we've been hearing about Dallas Goedert for a while now. And he was definitely available this offseason, all offseason. I believe with a deep tight end draft class too, that I thought that he was gone, but for now, I don't know what's going to happen because 14 million is still owed at this point. But Dallas Goddard can go anywhere and fit in because he's technically, to me, one of the fourth, maybe fifth best tight end. Actually, he's the fourth best tight end, in my opinion. Or you could say Trey McBride, and that's how I put it. I put it Travis Kelce, George Kittle. I take that back, you guys. I know I made a mistake now. Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta, and Dallas Goddard. And then you could throw in probably somebody like a Trey McBride. But I believe that He contributes with the Eagles, but he can definitely be replaced, unfortunately, because the Eagles had to get rid of a lot of guys, on contracts. When you're a Super Bowl winning team, people go want that Super Bowl money. I don't think that they care about a lot of people they lost because they still have the pieces in place. But at this point, Dallas Goddard, if he don't get paid, he might be shipped off elsewhere. Cincinnati Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. The reason why, because I still feel like he's very unhappy. He was unhappy the last season, wanted to be traded, but that never came to reality. The Bengals was willing to listen to offers, but that ended up in Mike Brown just being difficult like he always is. But I believe Trey Henderson, one of his main issues right now is he want that 34 to $35 million annually that most of the pass rushers are getting. And I don't think that Mike Brown is willing to give up that type of money. I believe that they were talking more of like 24 to 25 million per year. And I don't think that he wants that. He wants to get paid just as well as the other rushers are getting paid, especially in the free agent market, knowing that he led the lead in sacks with 17 and a half last season. Pittsburgh still isn't George Pickens. Well, you already know I'm not really too big of a fan of this guy. I feel like he doesn't play the game the right way. And it's always been still the divas in the past, like your Mike Wallace's and your Antonio Browns. You can continue to go down that route. There's been some divas over there, and I just don't understand why. But Mike Tomlin handles things pretty well over there in Pittsburgh. But at this point, I didn't like how he played last year when he was dogging out plays. It was a fumble that he could have recovered, and he just let the defender go right past him and then run for extra yards. The way he handled himself in press conferences when they asked him questions, I just feel like it's starting to rub off on Mike Tomlin and it's getting old. Arguing with players, I mean, no, it wasn't players. I take that back. Arguing with fans in the crowd when you're supposed to be in playing on the play and you miss out on the play because you arguing with fans being silly. It just too much was going on with him. I'm surprised he stayed for that long. Definitely thought that he'd be traded at the end of the season, but now with DK Metcalf over there, it's funny because they said they didn't have any need at wide receiver, and all of a sudden you pay DK Metcalf to a huge deal, man. So that's going to be pretty difficult. And I don't think that with that contract that DK Metcalf just signed, that George Pickens going to stay there for long. And I know they'll be happy to get rid of him. A team who I think could be in the market for wide receiver, and they're a needy wide receiver team for a number two, unfortunately, or maybe a 1A, 1B would be the Dallas Cowboys because you got CeeDee Lamb, but you can line him up on the other side, and that possibly might work. I want to move on and I want to talk about the defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know you guys probably be like, whoa, Hugh, wait just a minute. This guy just went over there last season. Yeah, he did. He was one of the big time free agents in free agency last season. But it wasn't the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles got over the hump neither. He was one of those draft guys that everybody felt like they had buzz on and thought that he was going to go to a team and make a decent amount of money. He did just that. But he had less than stellar 2024-2025 season with a pedestrian 2.5 sacks and a part-time role in the Philadelphia Eagles defense. The Eagles still owe him 16.5 million guarantee in 2025, and other teams might be willing to make that trade to get them a defensive end. So he possibly might be on the market. Seattle Seahawks, I know people going to be surprised with this one, and I'm feeling like Kenneth Walker III can definitely be one of those guys that can be expandable because with the Zach Charbonnet and his emergence and how well he played when, Kenneth Walker III was out. One of the issues with Kenneth Walker III is his availability. He's been injured quite a lot lately. And with Zach Charbonnet showing that he can hold the load, I definitely feel like this would be somebody that team like the Dallas Cowboys, damn, it seemed like they need everything after saying they were going all in last season. That can help them out, but it can help out a lot of teams too. The Chicago Bears, Lord, I hope that don't happen. But there's some teams who still need a worthy running back and who can get those services from him. And I still feel like right now with the regime that is not over there in Seattle. That's one of the reasons why he might be. Yeah, GM John Snyder is still there, but I feel like Pete Carroll was the voice of the players and the people who got drafted over there as well. So a trade over there might not hurt them too as well, But then I feel like by them getting the big time, running back, they possibly won't need him over there. But he's definitely expandable right now, and definitely got to get an Ashton Genting. I don't think that they need his services. Let's be honest. This one don't surprise nobody. I definitely feel like he'll be on another team. He possibly might be on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I definitely don't think he'll be on the Minnesota Vikings since they already got Sam Howell over there. But it's some teams who still need a quarterback over here right now. Um, I don't know what Cleveland gonna do. That's a messy situation, and I'm not even gonna talk about it anymore after talking about it last Wednesday on the Wednesday show. But Kirk Cousins still has a deal that needs to be done. I don't feel like he wanted to do it around the draft time because, in general, what happened to him this season, he didn't want to go to a team that was going to get their future franchise quarterback like Atlanta did. That was weird on so many levels to get him, sign him to like a 4-year, $180 million contract just to get Michael Penix, and then he get injured and Michael Penix outplayed him. So yeah, that was just wasted time right there. I don't know how much money Atlanta Falcons gonna eat, but they're gonna eat a lot of that money. But he's still one of the pieces that needs to be traded, and I would like to see him on a new team, because it's definitely getting awkward over there in Atlanta. New York Giants with Kevon Thibodeau. I feel like getting Abdul Carter. He's expandable. Bottom line, don't really need to get into too much. They picked up his $14.5 million. I believe this might be his last season with the Giants. I'm not surprised. They got Brian Burns. Now they got Abdul Carter. They have a lot of young, really good pass rushers over there. And him staying there, I don't see it. I think he's played okay, but he had played well enough to be a first round draft pick. And he might be on his way out after this season. The writing's on the wall when you get Abdul Carter, bottom line. Jadeveon Clowney is another one. Don't really have to talk too much about him. I think that he had an okay NFL career, but it's not what we expected. Definitely after coming out of college and the game he put up when he was in South Carolina against the Michigan Wolverines. I wasn't too happy about that tackle when he knocked my man's helmet off, but that just basically showed the type of raw talent and a good player that he was. He didn't do that with the Texans. He stayed hurt. And every team he went to, it was just like he was a rental. I was really surprised he went to the Carolina Panthers. He played pretty good over there too, as well. But I think now with the Panthers getting 2 draft picks, I don't think that he'll be there still because they ended up getting 2 guys, Nick Scorson and Pricey, Omen Milan. I don't know if I said his name right. I'm not good with long, crazy names, but they got those guys in the second and the third round. And by them doing so, that just let me know a veteran like, Jadeveon Clowney could help with their growth. But I think that now that they're just going to let him go because he's due $10 million and $2 million guaranteed. So making him a release candidate before training camp won't even affect anything. But he can still go to a team and make an impact. I'm not saying he's washed nor he's a bust, but he definitely played less than expectations when he first originally got drafted. I want to go into the Cleveland Browns and their cornerback Greg Newsome. I thought that he was going to be gone last season, but then they ended up picking up his contract, the 5th-year option, 13.3 million, fully guaranteed. It was a rumor before that he was going to leave, so I don't think that he will stay there this season. Only reason he didn't go last year when they was trying to trade him off, I don't think that he had more higher than a 5th-round draft pick, and I know Cleveland wanted better than that. But right now he's put. I believe, if anything, he will possibly stay for another season. But if the price is right and the team come available, he definitely will be moving out of Cleveland this season. Last but not least, I want to say the Detroit Lions wide receiver Jamison Williams. I know people were pissed off at me with the grade I gave the Detroit Lions, but then I stick to my guns. I did go back and I seen how big Isaac Tesla is, and then the Talik Williams, how people were saying that he was one of the steals in the draft. But I feel like you didn't really need an interior pass rusher. You needed more of an edge pass rusher. And that's why I gave them the grade, because I still feel like if you didn't really draft the biggest need on the board, which I still feel like was defensive end, I am not depending on no Marcus Davenport or no rookie 6th-round draft pick as well. And I'm at Hassain. No disrespect, but I feel like they had some guys that they could have got pretty cheap on the market. And if they didn't, they could have got them in the draft. Like I said, Jahad, Campbell landed right in their lap. They could have got a Mike Green, but I understand what happened with his issues with the sexual assault, the reason why they didn't want to touch on it. But it was some few guys out there like the Nick Scorsons, and they could have got somebody. But then I heard too that they were trying to trade up in the draft and it just didn't materialize. But I had to give them the grade for what the draft was worth. There, you guys. I want to get into the Jameson Williams reason why I feel like that he might be expandable right now. I just didn't feel like in some of the boneheaded plays that he did and some of the things that he were doing, like just getting in trouble and doing some of the things he did, he got in trouble several times before. And I still feel like when he had the gambling situation, a lot of those things just seem like it comes back to surface with this kid and he just can't get it together. I would like for him to get it together, but one of the reasons why I think that he still will be good as far as trade bait is because he's a pretty good wide receiver, and there's some wide receiver needy teams out here. He's a boneheaded play away from us saying, once the the trade deadline come around, he might be gone. I just want for him to play well and stay in Detroit. But the issue I'm having right now with that is them signing DJ Reed in free agency. But then you got to look at it too. Like, you got David Montgomery who signed Amon St. Brown. Kirby Joseph just got him a good deal. But you got to think about the guys who's coming up on contracts too, like your Aiden Hutchinsons and your Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think it's going to be that money to throw around for all these guys. Hopefully it could be, or they can figure out a maneuver something to where they can keep all the guys, but I think it's more than likely somebody will be expandable. And I believe those guys are good off the field leaders, and they haven't been getting in trouble or having any crazy things go on with them in their life outside of football, but Jameson Williams. And so I feel like that's a possibility that he could still be traded. And if not, I don't believe that he will last after this season. Those are my thoughts on the trades and the people who I still feel like who can be in a situation where they might not even last, the whole year as far as the trade deadline. So I would like to say thank you all for chiming in. I appreciate you. And of course, if you want to check me out, you guys, you can find me at Hoovy, WHOOVI on Instagram. Sports Guru 2U is where you can find me at too on Facebook, where I put all my, live reports, breaking news, and the sports as far as the final scores go. Hugh.Lee6 is my TikTok page where I put all my information as far as the sports goes and highlights. I thank you all for chiming in. Appreciate you. Thank you all for looking at my YouTube page as well and putting up comments. It means a lot to me. If you have any questions or things you want me to discuss or things you want me to talk about that I haven't been talking about as much, you can talk to me too and email me at sportsguru@gmail.com. Thank you and have a blessed day. And once again, I'll see you guys next week. Until then,